Momentum. It's a program designed to teach students about movement, music, choreography, and performance. But really, it's about so much more. Momentum utilizes dance and movement instruction as the springboard to help children develop discipline and a standard of excellence and self-confidence that will carry over into all aspects of their lives, inside and outside the classroom. Momentum is modeled after a proven dance education method created some 30 years ago by world-famous ballet dancer Jacques d'Amboise. The method has been adopted in cities throughout the country because of its effectiveness in showing children that, when they try their hardest, they are capable of excellence. The program also strives to complement the lessons learned in the classroom, as is evidenced in the children's performance of Literature in Motion, a program developed for just that purpose. BalletMet's Momentum offers weekly dance classes during the school day throughout the school year to 5th grade students. During the first half of the school year, students learn the basics of how to participate in a dance class, how to count music provided by live piano accompaniment, and how to learn and remember choreography. At mid-year, the dancers perform in their school gym to demonstrate their progress. During the second half of the year, students have about 14 classes to learn and practice the choreography for the year-end performance. The morning of the show is the first time all of the 180 dancers from the 3 different elementary schools practice together. Their performance later in the day is memorable, as the children experience the thrill of performing on stage before an audience. During the year, some students may discover a true desire to pursue more advanced dance instruction. These Momentum dancers, if they demonstrate extraordinary ability and commitment, are invited to audition for a scholarship at BalletMet. Comments and notes from teachers, students, and principals affirm their belief in the Momentum approach. Kendra from Woodcrest writes, "Hi, you may remember me from the Momentum dance classes. I love the idea of just being able to dance in school. I'd like to thank you for coming to our school to get us focused on what we are and who we should be. The dance is really letting my spirit free. I like that." Momentum. The word itself refers to a positive energy that moves us forward and upward, and that, in a nutshell, is what Momentum does for children's lives. Using dance, it helps them to strive for excellence and ask the best of themselves, providing them with a personal momentum for a bright and fulfilling future.
First of all, 2 dances by 2 of BalletMet's company dancers, Justin Gibbs and Christine Mangia, who also just happen to be married in real life outside of the ballet world. The first piece they're going to dance is called the 20s, 30s, and this is very reminiscent, very much a historical style of dance. So it's not like you'd see today, but in the 1920s and 1930s, this is the kind of style of dancing you'd see on stage, and they think this was cutting edge and terribly, terribly exciting. So this is a little historical section for you, and then I'll come back out and explain what the next dance is. So here's Christine and Judd. Okay, Dave, right now I'm going to talk to you just for a few brief seconds because Justin right now is frantically catching his breath because he's got to come out and do one more dance for you. This is a lot of fun. It's a percussion solo, and it was created by Harrison McEldowney, who's a choreographer from Chicago. And he's used lots of different rhythms, and you'll see different styles of dance in there. You'll see some disco relative stuff there. You'll see some hip-hop stuff. All sorts of different eras of dance you'll see him doing in this. And it's funny, too, so you can laugh at this one. It's important, I think some of you, you're all up there, I know a lot of people are dancing later on this morning, and a lot of you down here may be dancing next year with us. Dancing is a wonderful profession, and the dancers that you're seeing dancing just now are professional dancers. This is what they do for a living, and they work very, very hard at this. They work from 9 in the morning until 6 at night on a professional working day, and that's usually 5 or 6 days a week, depending on whether it's a performance week or not. So they get very busy, and they stay in terrific shape. And it's been a wonderful career. A lot of our dancers come from all over the world. So as a dancer, you get to travel all over the world. It's a very exciting profession to be in. So any of you that may grow up or aspire to grow up to be a dancer, good for you. It's been a great life. The other thing that's really great about learning to dance is you realize it's not like, we work with computers a lot today, and you push a button and it happens, it does it. When you are working as a dancer, you have to keep practicing, and you have to keep doing it over and over again, and it gets us really back to what being human is and how long it takes to perfect things. These dancers you're seeing right now, I know that the Momentum dancers have been working all year on their dances. The dancers that the professional dancers doing right now, they've also worked for many, many hours to get these dances right. And so when we see someone dance, it's not just like, hey, well, that was okay, but this is a lot of work that's gone into that. So I've finished talking. Justin is going to start dancing for you any minute now.
Hello, I'm back. How'd you like that dancing? Yeah. Well, now, the theme of today's performances are Wilbur and Orville. And I don't know about you, but when you first think about it, it might not be really that obvious why you would do something in dance about guys who did airplanes. But let me tell you a little something about how Wilbur and Orville did airplanes that I think shows it's quite brilliant. to pair dance with these two gentlemen and their great invention. There were a lot of people trying to figure out how to make airplanes with motors that could fly whatever distance they wanted to, back when Wilbur and Orville were around. And almost everybody thought that the challenge was build a big airplane that people could sit in, and then basically figure out how to build a big old engine that would brute force push that thing through the sky. Wilbur and Orville went about it a different way. They actually looked at birds. And you know what? They were jealous of the birds. And they were amazed. You ever watch a bird just kind of soaring and hovering in a good wind? Seems like they're just sitting there, not moving at all, right? And they can weave and dodge sometimes by just moving one little feather on the tip of their wings. And what Wilbur and Orville realized was that these majestic animals that are in motion, they're moving, but they somehow have everything in such perfect balance that just a little bit of control, modifying that balance, lets them turn and soar. And so while everybody else was asking the big, tough, hard questions of how do we build large engines, Wilbur and Orville asked an elegant and simple question. What do the birds have in balance? How do they keep it in balance? And then how do they adjust that balance to make this amazing motion? And because they asked that question of balance, they got focused on the things that proved to be the key to building airplanes. And their first Wright Flyer was a model of imitating, emulating, learning how to move and soar and fly like the birds. Well, you've just seen some pretty fabulous dancing, and I think it's made it certainly clear to me that what dancers know how to do is maintain an amazing sense of balance and yet listen to and be inspired by some music and keep it all together and flow through it in remarkable and wonderful ways. And that's what you're going to see the momentum dancers do here today. Those of you who've danced with momentum before, I'll bet you've recognized some of what you've experienced in the words I just said about Wilbur and Orville. And those of you who are thinking about maybe dancing with momentum in the years ahead, you'll love it. So I think we are go for liftoff, and let's get on with the show.
Dear friends, I have a wonderful story to tell you. A story that in some respects outrivals the Arabian fables. Two ministers' boys who loved machinery and who were interested in the modern developments of science and art began studying the flights of birds and insects. From this, they turned their attention to what had been done in the way of enabling men to fly. This work, mind you, was all new. Nobody living could give them any advice. It was like exploring a new and unknown domain. When Columbus discovered America, he did not know what the outcome would be, and no one at that time knew. In a like manner, these two brothers have probably not even a faint glimpse of what their discovery is going to bring to the children of men. Welcome to the late 1800s, the age of great scientific inventions and industrial growth, the time when American energy and individualism gave hope to those who dreamed. Dayton, Ohio. Number 7, Hawthorne Street. My house. I'm Orville Wright. My parents, Bishop Milton and Susan Wright, had 5 children, and our house was filled with a quest for knowledge. My brother Wilbur and I thought alike and played alike. We loved to tinker and experiment with mechanical things in our backyard, especially when our friends in the neighborhood joined in. As a bishop, our father often traveled. He would frequently return with gifts that spurred our creativity. Coming home from one such journey, he gave us a toy helicopter. Little did Father know that his gift would one day change the world. Wilbur and I teamed up for our first business venture in 1889 by starting a printing company. Using a damaged tombstone and buggy parts, we built a printing press and printed odd jobs as well as our own newspaper. Later, we printed and published local newspapers and magazines. Our printing press could handle jobs of 1,000 pages an hour, and for the first time ever, the words Wright Brothers appeared in print. We left the printing business to join the newest craze, the safety bicycle. These were the first bicycles to have 2 wheels of equal size. We opened our first bicycle shop in 1892 and became pretty famous for selling, renting, and repairing bicycles. We actually started manufacturing and using the parts we made. We loved to ride bicycles because it felt as close to flying as a person could get. As much as we enjoyed our successful bicycle business, we never stopped thinking about flight. We studied other inventors who tried to fly and realized they were missing a key element: flight control. We built numerous gliders and kites to observe their every move. Wilbur experimented with wing design by building a 5-foot double-winged kite. With this design, the kite rolled to the right and left as well as up and down. It worked. Flight could be controlled. We were ready to test our ideas for manned flight, but the conditions in Dayton, Ohio were not perfect. Wilbur wrote the U.S. Weather Service to ask where winds blew strong and steady. One site sounded ideal. We had never heard of it before, a remote fishing village called Kitty Hawk on the Outer Banks in North Carolina. I sure do remember that trip. We had to take 2 trains, a ferry, and finally, an old fishing boat. We were greeted as a bit of a curiosity by the local fishermen, but that didn't bother us. The Outer Banks offered endless stretches of sand beaches perfect for testing our gliders and making landings. And believe me, sometimes we needed a soft landing. In spite of the challenges, the Outer Banks had great wind that averaged 10 to 20 miles per hour and plenty of solitude so we could experiment in secret. However, we discovered that the wind at times could be very unpredictable. Hold on to your hat! Wilbur and I went back and forth from Dayton to Kitty Hawk frequently between 1901 and 1903. There were problems with the scientific data we were relying on, so we built our own wind tunnel and began to test our own models. At the end of 1901, we possessed the world's best aerodynamic data for the design of glider wings. At the end of 1902, we were the two most experienced glider pilots in the world. But there was still something missing in order to make a powered aircraft. Once again, we returned to Dayton to think, research, and experiment how to develop an engine and a propeller for our flying machine. On Monday, December 14th, 1903, we were back in Kitty Hawk again to test our new flyer, complete with propellers and an engine. Wilbur and I tossed a coin to see who would be the first pilot. Wilbur won. He climbed aboard, started the engine, but it took off too fast, stalled, and crashed. Wilbur was fine, but it took 2 days to repair the flyer. On Thursday, December 17, 1903, we shook hands, and this time, I took the pilot's position. With Wilbur running alongside, the flyer took off into the air. It was the first time in the history of the world in which a machine carrying a man had raised itself by its own power into the air in full flight. We had succeeded.